Today we're going to talk about and show you the 2021 Giant Roam 2 disc. This is a $7.99 Canadian bike. It's a dual sport hybrid. It comes in two colors, this charcoal color or in a, what do they call that color? Metallic blue, which I suspect is metallic and blue. This is an 18-speed bike. And being a dual sport hybrid, it is designed basically for streets and paths. I'm going to show you some of the details on this bike, talk about who this is going to be good for, and I'm definitely going to point out who this is not going to be good for because that touches on a pet peeve. I just weighed this bike. It's 29.8 pounds, so not exceptionally light, but we're probably talking, if we're looking at mountain bikes in this $800 range, we're probably saving in the neighborhood of a pound, maybe 2, maybe 3 pounds over a comparably priced mountain bike. So, to start with, we have that 2x9 gearing, as I mentioned. In this case, we have Shimano Alivio Shadow rear derailleur. So that shadow in the title just means that we would usually have a little bit of a lump sticking out here and then a spring that's set up there. This is taking inspiration from the mountain bike part of the world where we take away that extra spring and it actually leaves us a little bit less likely to knock the rear derailleur and also gives us a little bit crisper shifting. We have two chain rings on the front here. So this is a bit of a shift in thinking, pun intended. It used to be that all these bikes would have 3 chain rings in the front and then 7, 8, or 9 gears in the back. This 2x9 gives us all the practical gears that we want. What it improves for us is by having just those 2 chain rings down there, is you no longer have an issue with being worried about cross shifting. So if you're up in the big end of your cassette there on a previous 3x drivetrain, you would have to avoid being on the big chainring on the front, otherwise you're going to get noise and potentially wearing on things. And same thing with if you're on the small ring on a 3 chainring setup, you would then be avoiding the small end of your cassette here to avoid noise and causing issues. So now with this 2 chainrings on the front, you can basically shift and there isn't going to be a bad shift in there. You don't have gears that are definite no-nos. Our tires here, to stick with the purpose of this bike, these are a Giant CrossCut S tire, and they're a 700 by 42C tire. 42C basically means that these are 42 millimeters wide, 4.2 centimeters wide, and that basically puts us into the sort of thing that will do really nicely on paved roads, paved paths, a little bit of gravel, and a little bit of if you had a smooth dirt path that you had to go down to cut between streets or something. Now I mentioned earlier my pet peeve, and that is these types of bikes, dual sport hybrids, being sold by people at bike shops as a great bike for somebody who just wants a bike that they could maybe try mountain biking on, but they also wanted to do that paved path, paved streets sort of riding. This bike would not be fun on a mountain bike trail. Unless your idea of mountain bike trail means there aren't going to be any roots or rocks or anything, this really is a disservice to customers, giving them the expectation that they could ride mountain bike trails on this guy here. It's for streets, it's for paths. Going with that street and path use, we have the mounts down there for your rack and fenders. We also have those mounts up top, of course. If you look at, hopefully the camera can pick up on this, that seat post that we have on this bike is what they call a D-Fuse seat post. So it's shaped like a D. The front is round. The back of the post is flat. The idea there is that it's going to give you a little bit of compliance as you go over bumps. It's going to bend just a little bit to give you some extra comfort. And it's a proven system too. It's been on many of the Giant bikes for a number of years now. Here, I just wanted to point out, right in the center of your screen, those are a kickstand mount. That is, if you go shopping for a kickstand for this guy, you're looking for an 18mm direct mount kickstand is what you would be asking for. There's that Acera front derailleur, our two chain rings that we have on there. Room for those bottles. You can see a little bit of the finish on the paint there, that if the camera would even be able to pick up on this sort of stuff. You do have some nice metallic sort of depth to this paint. You've got nice internal cable routing on this guy. So this is a new frame for 2021, and it's got those two cables going into the front of the head tube. Those are your front and rear derailleur, and then this is your rear brake hose. Tektro hydraulic disc brakes. We do have these giant ergonomic grips on here with a little bit of a wing to sort of give you support for your hand. One thing I would say on this bike is whenever I see shaped grips like this that aren't lock-on grips, I basically warn people, plan to buy new grips pretty soon, because those are just going to start rotating on you. And that would be another pet peeve of mine, is ergonomic grips that aren't bolt-ons are basically kind of useless. We have the Shimano Altus shifters on here. We have narrower handlebars on here than what we would see if this was a mountain bike. So that's taking this intended use into, if you're on bike paths and things, you don't want to be catching jackets of people you're riding past or anything. And overall, the fit on this guy is going to be a little bit more compressed than a mountain bike. So that means that that horizontal reach from your saddle to your handlebars is going to be a little bit closer. You're going to be a bit more upright, though your hands aren't going to be super upright, so it still leaves you in a position that you can get power to the pedals. We have a lockout on the fork here. This is otherwise quite an unsophisticated fork. It's basically, I think, 75mm of travel on this fork, and it is designed really with the purpose of absorbing the kind of vibration you would get from gravel or places where roots have started to push up, some asphalt on your favorite section of bike path. And then part of that whole thing with not liking this for mountain biking is the fact that these tires, they're designed to be quick on pavement and to have just a little bit of tread, so if you do get onto gravel, you've got a little bit of bite if you start to dig in. With the width that you have on there though, you have to ride them a little bit harder. So if you're riding these at, say, 60 psi, actually 60 psi is maximum, so maybe you're riding these at 50 psi, you have a really hard tire that is going to basically transmit piles of shock, but worse for the bike's handling if you go onto mountain bike trails is the tires are just going to slip off of anything as far as roots and rocks that you don't hit perfectly perpendicular, which puts you in a position where you're not really enjoying the ride and potentially going to form a really bad opinion of mountain biking if you tried mountain biking on this bike. So sizing on this guy, small I would suggest for 5'4" to 5'7", medium 5'7" to 5'10", large 5'10" to 6'1", and extra large 6'1" to 6'4". Otherwise, if you're watching this from the States, you may very well notice that you have an $800 Roam 2 in the States as well, but yours is equipped with a 1x9 drivetrain, and so I'm going to officially say that I think the US version of this bike is wacky, because a single front chainring with this same range of gears, 11 to 36 teeth on the back there, is, for our sort of riding location out here, that wouldn't give you enough gears, I don't think, to handle the difference between the hills you're going to have to climb and riding with some wind at your back. So our version of this bike offered in Canada, I would say, is one I prefer much more from what seems to be offered in the States. So this is the 2021 Giant Roam 2 disc. It is $7.99 in Canada. A Roam 2 can be found in the States for $800 as well, but it is not the exact same bike. This is a great bike for somebody who is looking to ride streets and paths and explore the area around their home without getting tempted to go mountain biking. So if you have friends who are currently into mountain biking, and if there is a chance that they're going to bug you to come out riding with them, do yourself a favor and maybe look at a hardtail mountain bike. If you're thinking about something to go for a pleasure ride around home or to ride to work, this could be a great bike for you. So just keep those uses in mind to make sure you're spending your money wisely. I'm Graham, this is Bike Bros. We love talking about bikes here, and we love helping people get on the bike that's going to put the biggest smile on their face. Thanks so much.